seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Thursday, July 14th, 2022. We got a show coming at you to talk about the weekend that was this past weekend. We're going to be joined by the full Gas Sprint Enduro overall champion, Evan Smith, here in just a little bit. We're going to recap a little bit about that race and talk about some other storylines that are going on throughout the off-road world. That's right, OTP. We're the ones here to keep you connected with all the gossip and everything that is going on in the off-road world. Not really gossip, but just key things, stuff that's going on, stuff that we notice. But before we get started, I want to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you in part by Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer and a financial advisor that helps his clients win when it comes to retirement and financial planning. If you or someone you know wants to save or invest for their future, or is already retired and needs advice for income during retirement, Zach Tussle is always my first recommendation. Find out more by Googling Zach Tussle or on their website at financialadvisorsdenvernc.com. So once again, you can look up on the socials, get a hold of him that way, shoot him a message. Ask any questions that you may have. The stock market is a really good opportunity to get into right now, the way that things sit. So if you want to learn more about it, learn more about your financial future, get a hold of Zach, financialadvisorsdenvernc.com, or look him up on the social interwebs. But this past weekend, as I mentioned, it was the final round of the Full Gas Sprint Enduro Series. Josh Koscheck got the series, bought it, put it together in a very short amount of time, was able to put out a successful year. I had a lot of fun being back involved at the Full Gas Sprint Enduros, and we saw a championship get wrapped up. So obviously there was no Full Gas in 2021 as everything transitioned in the way that things went down last year, but close out 2022 with a bang. One of the craziest battles that I've personally ever witnessed at a Full Gas Sprint Enduro. So going into the weekend, Evan Smith and Ben Nelko were just 1 point apart in the overall standings. Now, Ben Nelko was in the lead by 1 point, and Evan Smith was down 1 point going into this final round, and it was for the overall. So the overall points, the overall championship. Ben, as we talked about before, wrapped up that Pro 2 championship a round early at the last round, but the overall was still yet to be decided, and that's what the eyes were on this past weekend. So it was pretty cool to watch. It was, like I said, one of the craziest battles that I've seen with those two guys going back and forth, because we came out. First of all, sky let out Sunday morning. It started raining. It was nonstop. Basically, throughout the entire day, it just rained, and it was like a little piddly rain the entire time, but it did not stop raining the entire time, and that played into it as well. It just made the conditions that much harder, especially when these guys are battling for everything that's on the line. It's not only just the overall title that's on the line, it was a $7,000 payday that was on the line. The overall champion at Full Gas got a $7,000 championship bonus at the end, but second place still got $3,000, and third place still got $1,000. So all in all, $19,575 that were given out over just this past weekend. In 1 weekend, that's how much the checks amounted to. So it's cool to see a little bit of that money get pumped into the sport, especially for a championship bonus like that. But needless to say, like I mentioned, not only was the title on the line, but also that payday was on the line as well. So these were going to be challenging conditions, especially when they're trying to squeeze every millisecond that they can out of these tests to make sure that they are the ones coming away with that win. Also, quick mention, I wanted to look it up before I said it, but the women's pro class got $2,000 for a championship bonus for first place, $500 for second place, and $200 for third place. Those were the year-end payouts for the WXC Pro women. But getting back into the race, it was crazy. We start things on the enduro test. Evan comes out swinging, wins by 5 seconds. We go back to the cross test, and Ben comes out swinging and wins the cross test. And the way that it played out throughout the entire day was that Evan won every enduro test, and Ben won every cross test going into the final test. So it was a back and forth literally all day, because you go from enduro test to cross test and back, and you do that 10 times in one day. And each and every single time, Evan would win, then Ben would win, then Evan would win, then Ben would win. They swapped the lead several times throughout the day, and the leader is the first one out to the course. So then we saw several times where Ben is the first one out to the enduro test, and Evan's the first one out to the cross test, and it was just a lot of back and forth, and it was cool to watch. It was like it was a nail-biting day of watching those riders, because you never knew what was going to happen. And then there was one test where Ben started behind Evan on the cross test, physically caught him, physically passed him, and came in. So that's automatically at least a 15-second gap. Then you sit there and think about it. That doesn't really happen too often at a sprint enduro unless something goes terribly wrong, falls, wipeouts, mistakes made, what have you. And then not only did it happen once, it ended up happening again in the enduro test, but this time Evan Smith started in second. He caught up to Ben Nelko and passed him and went into the lead and beat him physically. So not only did it happen once, it happened twice in the same day. And so the battle turned out to be who could win by the most amount of time on the side of the track that they were good at. So could Evan beat Ben by more in the enduro test than Ben was beating Evan in the cross test? And that's exactly what played out, and that's exactly what happened going into the final round. I think Evan was up somewhere 13, 14 seconds, and so he even said that going out there, all he knew was that if he didn't get past, then he won. And so it ended up being quite the battle. They were wheel to wheel basically that entire last cross test, and then right in front of the crowd where everyone was standing there, Ben tried to run it up on the inside and try to make the block pass and go for the lead, ended up crashing, and you could just hear the audible gasp from the entire crowd that was there. But it was an awesome weekend of racing. It was cool to watch that battle play out. Like we mentioned, Ben Nelko wrapped up the XC2 points the round before that, and so he actually moved up to the XC1 class, and so just a battle up there mainly because the payout's more in XC1, and he already wrapped up the XC2 title. But that allowed Steve Nicholas to get his first XC2 win of the year in that XC2 class. Mike McLean ended up getting second place in that XC2 class, and then down in our so before I talk about this Pro-Am, I got to admit I made one of my biggest mistakes ever as an announcer, and it still bothers me. I'm still upset about it, but it kind of, you can look back on it now and laugh, but at the time, man, I felt so bad, because my biggest fear has always been getting someone's name wrong, like calling them the wrong name. That's always been a giant fear of mine. Like, even I'm talking about when I'm announcing Caleb Russell, when I'm announcing Josh Strang, when I'm announcing Thad Duvall, when I'm announcing Stu Baylor, any of these guys, I'm still like looking at my phone at the results, or looking at results I have written down, or looking at the check that they're holding to make sure I'm saying their name right. That's how worried I am about saying someone's name wrong. It's my biggest fear, is to call someone the wrong name in front of everybody, especially at a podium when everyone's sitting there watching and paying attention. This past weekend, as I was calling out the Pro-Am class, I knew all day long what the overall top three were, and then right before we were about to do the podiums, I got a new printout that had all the names on it once again, but they were in a little bit different order. So I misread the paper, and the very first thing that we do, everyone's standing there. Evan just won a championship. Everyone just watched this battle go down. Everyone's standing there at podiums, and I'm announcing the overall top three, and I announce it wrong. I got the wrong person in the third place spot. I called out third place for the year, not third place for the race, when we were doing the overall podium for the race. And not only did I goof up by doing that, but it was also Dominic Morse that got the Pro-Am win. So it was his first Pro-Am win of the season, if I'm not mistaken, but it was also his first time on the overall podium. And Dominic's out there on a 125. So he's on a 125 battling against all these people that are on 350s, 250Fs, 450s, all that. And he goes out there and gets an overall podium on a 125 in the mud. So I messaged him right away. I apologize there. I'm so sorry, Dominic Morse. Kind of stole that moment, and it sucks. Like, as an announcer, it's one of my biggest fears to goof something up, especially that bad. But anyway, got off on a tangent there. Going back to it, taking the Pro-Am win for the day. It was, as we mentioned, Dominic Morse, who ends up third place overall. Taking second place in Pro-Am was Grady Faint, and then Bolton Baroth. He's been riding really well. He ends up in third place in that Pro-Am spot, but Grady Faint rounded out the championship. So he came into it with quite a bit of a lead, and he ended up getting it done at the final round. So big shout out to Grady Faint, his first Pro-Am title. So goes out there, and he's been ripping this year. He's been winning a lot of those races. He was on the overall podium before and running some fast times. And so it was cool to see Grady wrap up that championship. So those are your champions for the year. Evan Smith takes the Pro 1 win. Ben Nelko takes the XC2 Pro Championship. And then Dominic Morse takes the Pro-Am Championship. And then we look to our women's Pro class. We had a couple new women out there with us, and they actually ended up getting on the podium in this final round. But Mackenzie Tricker, our champion that was crowned at the last round, she wrapped that championship up a round early as well. So she goes out there and gets another win in the muddy conditions. Taylor Johnston drove, I think she said 12 hours down from New York to come racing with us, and to come down to a mud race. But she said she loved the conditions, and she ended up in second place in that women's pro class. And then Samantha Farr, who's actually from North Carolina, she came out and checked out her first full gas and ends it with a podium and a big check in the women's pro class. So that is the way that everything shook out. And then also want to give a shout out to Jacob Thomas, local VXCS guy, local Virginia guy, young kid. He gets the Lights A win, and he's the top amateur with a 7th place ride overall. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Jacob Thomas is your top amateur on the weekend. But that being said, it was just it was a cool day of racing. It was cool to watch, and the way that the world of sprint enduros is right now, everything's kind of up in the air, and some people are here, some people are there, some people aren't doing anything, and some people are sitting out, some people are injured. But nevertheless, you can't take away the fact that Full Gas and the history that it has, the history of it being the first sprint enduro series in America, the series that we saw all the top talent in for all of these years. And I was sitting there going over it, and I announced it, and Evan mentioned it in this interview that you guys are about to hear coming up. But you look back at the history of Full Gas and how long it's been around. Caleb Russell won the championship. Thad Duvall won the championship. Stu Baylor won the championship. Josh Strang won the championship, and then Caleb won it 2 more times. So those are the 4 guys that have won this title before. These are the 4 guys that are on the Full Gas trophy as overall champions in the Full Gas Sprint Enduro Series. And now Evan Smith adds his name to that trophy. And you can't take that lightly. Like, that is awesome. That's an incredible achievement. Super stoked. Evan went out there and got it done. And Ben Nelko has become one of my really good friends. And Evan is a good friend of mine too. We send TikToks to each other all the time. But going into the weekend, it was kind of one of those things where I just want to see a good battle. Like, it's not like you're rooting for anybody. Not like you're rooting against anybody. And obviously, one person has to win. One person has to get second. So it was a cool day to watch. But like I said, pumped for Evan. He brought Beta their first overall title over here on the East Coast. And so that's a huge accomplishment. maybe he'll be sticking around with Beta for a few more years. But it was also cool as this podcast. Obviously, we are sponsored by Beta. Beta is the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast, and the Beta boys actually came down from Ohio to support Evan and to help him out. And when they got championship shirts made, they actually had one made for me as well, which I thought was super cool. I was pumped on it. So got to get that Beta shirt. And coincidentally, I was talking to Evan about this as well, but in 2019, Evan Smith won the Pro 2 championship at Full Gas when it was full of heavy hitters. And I actually it was the first Pro number one shirt that I've ever gotten in my life, and it was Evan Smith's number one shirt from the 2019 Full Gas championship. So now that was his last championship that he won as a pro, 2019 Full Gas Pro 2 champion, and now I got a shirt with Beta for Evan for the overall championship, which I thought was pretty sick. And yeah, just it was cool to see that happen, not only for Evan but for Beta Motorcycles as well. And I mean, Ben Nelko, he rode his butt off. He put in a very solid ride. He put in a very solid season. Ends up second place overall and the Pro 2 champion, and still walked away with $3,800 on Sunday. And so it's one of those things where, obviously, like I said, one person has to win, one person has to get second, and that's the way that the cookie crumbled. And that's the way it turned out. But anyway, it was an awesome weekend of racing. It was an awesome spectacle that those fellas put on, and I was pumped to be a part of it and be announcing it and taking some videos and stuff along the way. But a couple other big things over the weekend. Just got news, breaking news, if you will. Caleb Russell, who has recently come out of retirement to join the ISDE team. And when Caleb retired in 2020, that was one of the things that he was pretty adamant about, is that in his career he wanted an ISDE overall. So I think his intentions were to still train for that and still work towards that. And that's exactly what ended up happening this year, where it was announced that he would be joining the USA ISDE team efforts on the World Trophy team to go over to France this year and battle for the ISDE. Well, this past Monday and Tuesday, the entire ISDE team was together. They do a yearly ISDE training camp where the whole team gets together. So all of the trophy teams, the women's trophy team, the junior trophy team, and the world trophy team, they all get together, go over lines, walk the track, they work segments, and they work on times, and just go over everything that you need to know for an ISDE and a good little preparation camp beforehand. Well, turns out on the second day of that training camp, Caleb Russell ended up catching his foot on the ground, and it twisted his whole leg around and actually tore his ACL, which is a mega bummer. I mean, the ISDE is next month. It's at the end of next month, and he tore his ACL 2 days ago. And so we saw Dr. Tanner down there draining his knee out. Orthodogs SC on Instagram is Dr. Tanner. See him drain his knee out and working with Caleb, and Caleb says that he's still good to go. Said that he knows how to ride with a torn ACL, and that he's still going to be there at the ISDE in August. So be interesting to see how much that affects him, not only over there, but as we mentioned, it's next month. It's 4, 5, 6 weeks away. And so now, even if you can push through that pain and be better by the time the ISDE comes, you still got to train between now and then. So what is that training going to look like? What is that inflammation on that knee going to look like? And how much riding time is he going to be able to get between then and now? That's going to be the big question. But no doubt, Caleb Russell is still Caleb Russell. I expect him to still go over there and be competitive. And it's just a matter of, this kind of sets back the training regimen in his mind, I would have to believe, to some extent. But speaking of bum legs and getting back to racing, Ben Kelly, first public appearance that I know of since this whole thing happened. Obviously, he's been around the public, but first public race appearance. He was out and about, walking around at the Southwick Pro National. So looked to be in good spirits. Super pumped to see him back around the races, and still looking at his recovery and whether he'll be back racing at the end of summer break as we go back to GNCC racing at the beginning of September. But he's out and about walking around, and like I said, looked to be in good spirits, looked to be enjoying the day of racing from the couple videos and stuff that I saw. So I thought that was pretty cool to see him out and about. But other than that, there are some big old team news that are coming out. So expect to go over that next week, kind of run through the rumor mill a little bit. I'll let you guys know who I've heard might be going where, because right now, summer break, that is when everything gets discussed. That's when everything gets put together, and silly season is upon us. And it seemed like going into this year, this was a year that all of the deals are up. Like, all of the contracts are up. And so that means that either a lot of people are going to resign or a lot of people are going to be moving teams. And there's a lot of big-name people that I've been hearing might be moving teams. But I want to get some more details on that before I come on here and speak about it. But look for that to happen probably next week. We'll go over some of the silly season stuff and who we think might end up where, and who might be changing teams, who might be staying the same. You never know. There could be a lot of shakeups, or there could be absolutely nothing change. But, I mean, you also have plenty of guys sitting there that are looking for those factory rides or right at the edge of the factory rides. You got young guys coming up through the ranks. Ben Nelko, as I mentioned, an XC2 full gas champion. He's leading the Pro 2 points at National Enduro and been putting in some solid rides at GNCC too. So, I mean, maybe there's a extra factory ride for guys like that. So there's a lot of possibility for stuff to change and for stuff to move around and for people to go to different teams. But we will be on the look for that. But before we get into this interview with Evan, I do just want to let you guys know one more thing. So Twitch. Twitch is like a streaming platform. People live stream all sorts of stuff on Twitch. I didn't realize how expansive Twitch is. It is actually, I think, the second most watched app, or the second most viewed, or where people go to watch videos other than YouTube. And so, I mean, people literally do everything on it. But it's mainly known for, and it got popular for streaming video games. And as I'm trying to figure stuff out with the podcast, I didn't want to set, when I say I'm going to go on YouTube Live and we're going to do these videos or the podcast on videos, like, I don't want to stick a phone in the corner and go on Facebook Live and call it a show. Like, I want to have some type of production element to it. I want to be able to join FaceTime calls and stuff on here. So as I've been messing around with that stuff, I actually found the easiest thing to use is Twitch Studio. So basically, I'm getting on another tangent here, but one thing I'm going to start doing, and it'll kind of help me engage with you all a lot more and engage with my viewers and engage with the people that are listening and the people that are tuning into OTP. I want to hear what you have to say. And so Mondays and Tuesdays before the shows at 11 a.m., which I know a lot of people are going to be working, but at 11 a.m., I'm going to go live on Twitch. And I kind of got some ideas of what we're going to do, so it won't always be video games, but here the past couple times I've just been playing some video games, playing some Warzone, playing some Madden, things like that. But that's just to give you something to look at and give us something to do as we chat. But if you don't have a Twitch, I encourage you to go on there and follow along, because like I said, every Monday and Tuesday at 11 a.m., I'm going to get on there, and my intention is to have people come on and maybe, you race your local race this weekend and something happened. You want to let me know. Like Thad Duvall went up and raced an E-Rock race this past weekend and obviously won the thing, but that was I think it was honestly his second race back since he got cleared to ride his dirt bike coming off of his pelvis injury. So maybe you were at E-Rock and you want to tell a story about that, or you want to hear about E-Rock and Thad Duvall racing E-Rock on OTP. Then it kind of gives everyone an opportunity to come in there and join that chat and say, hey, I heard this. Because what I'm going to do is, like I said, I got a couple different ideas of what we'll be doing, but I guess for the next couple, it probably will be just playing video games, maybe playing Supercross, whatever. But the idea is for you guys to come in there, tell those stories, or say, hey, you know what? Jesse Ainsley had a good ride this past weekend. You should get him on the show and talk to him. Or hey, this guy got second place in Open A and no one knows who he was, and now all of a sudden he's crushing it. You should have him on the show. So I think it'd be a good opportunity to give people a way to chat and to open up that line of communication, especially on the days of the shows, because I'm going to keep a notepad right there with me. And, yeah, I think it could end up being pretty cool. And like I said, after some of the races, I'll throw my computer screen up there and live edit the YouTube videos that I make. So you'll be able to see exactly what goes into my editing process, and you'll be able to see all the footage before anybody else does, before it goes on YouTube or anything like that. So like I said, just gives me an opportunity to engage with you all, gives you all an opportunity to engage with me. I get tons of Instagram messages, and a lot of times I forget to respond to them, or a lot of times they go to the request thing in the messages, and then I don't see it until way later, and it's hard to really put a face to the name or like interact with people through that. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the messages, and keep those coming. But I think on this Twitch thing, it'll give us more of a public forum. It'll be like a live chat to where we can talk about things real time and talk about it on the spot. So I don't know, just an idea that I had. I'm going to try it out and see where it goes, and I hope you join along for that, and I hope you can find some value in it as well. So, yeah, once again, it's on Twitch, and my name on there is On The Pipe Gaming. I just put it On The Pipe Gaming. I should have put it On The Pipe Podcast, but I didn't, and so it's On The Pipe Gaming. But anyway, check it out. Go to Twitch, search for it, or our little link tree, so the link in our bio on Instagram or the link that you see everywhere, there's a link directly to our Twitch channel on that as well. So check it out if you want. I think it'll be cool. But with that being said, we're going to talk to our Full Gas overall champion here, who obviously rides for Beta Motorcycles. He's on the factory Beta motorcycle team. And as you all know, Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of On The Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been family owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta motorcycles are the best looking bikes on the market and back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. So, shout out Beta. They get their first overall pro win or championship on the East Coast, and it was cool to be a part of the whole thing, and obviously very cool to have Beta on board with OTP as well. But with no further delay, let's get right into it now. The 2022 Full Gas Sprint Enduro overall champion, the Master Beta indeed, Evan Smith. Evan, how's it going tonight?
Oh man, it's pretty good. It's been a good week.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to start off. How does it feel? Has it really sank in yet? Did it sink in at the race? How do you feel about becoming the overall champ?
I mean, I'm quite excited about it. It's pretty cool. Honestly, I didn't think all that much about it. You know, it was winning a championship, and that was cool and all until you were announcing after the race and started reading off all the previous Full Gas champions, and that's when it, you know, really hit home. It was pretty cool to me to be added to that list of some of the greatest guys in off-road history here.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I wanted to read it off and kind of think about it when we were sitting there doing the podiums. It's Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Stu Baylor, Josh Strang, and now you. Those are the champions in Full Gas history.
Yeah, man, that's awesome to be a part of that list. Those are all guys that, you know, I've admired in racing, and you know, hope to be beaten one day soon.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, that's kind of the thing I wanted to talk to you about too. Is you've been around Full Gas as long as I've been around Full Gas, and maybe even before. But you were the 2019 Pro 2 champion, and then you were racing the Pro class or the XC1 Pro 1, whatever you want to call it. But how does it feel to kind of develop all the way through this? Because not only did you win the championship this year, but in years past when it was stacked, when all the heavy hitters were there, when Caleb, Thad, Stu, all them dudes were there, you've won days. And to see this progression, to see you come up the ranks, win that Pro 2 championship, and now win the Pro overall championship, how has it been for you, like the whole time frame throughout Full Gas?
I mean, it's been awesome. I don't know. I guess turning a long story short, Full Gas was more or less kind of like my breakout moment in series back in 2016. I was, just come off of racing like 250As and GNCCs and, a little bit of double A expert national enduros and, not really a pro rider. And I showed up to Big Buck in 16. I think it was the last round of the series, and showed up and got 4th overall and was, battling for test wins with Charlie and Josh, and I think Thad was the other one there. So, it kind of happened quick. I was, nowhere near that speed, then showed up to that race and, was really close to the podium out of nowhere, and that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes to me that I was pretty fast. I got a good RPM KTM ride out of that in 2017 or no 2015. Into 2015 is when this happened. So yeah, going into 16, got a ride out of it, and raced them through the following years, and like you said, had some day wins and won that Pro 2 championship, and it's kind of been awesome. It's I guess it's kind of the series that put me on the map, and it just kind of feels like a full circle to come back several years later and be able to win that overall championship.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to see that progression through the whole thing, and now on a factory team, first year signing with Beta. Been riding that thing, and I know you've been back and forth with a couple different bikes, and you're racing the 2-stroke out there, and I think we talked about it a little bit when we all spoke a couple weeks ago about you becoming the first 2-stroke winner to ever overall a Full Gas or a Sprint Enduro. What's that been like, kind of adapting with the team, and how stoked are the team? Like, have you talked to those guys about your championship, and I mean, how stoked are they to get a championship and you get a championship your first year on the bike?
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I'm sure I've talked about it in the past, but I've never been a 2-stroke guy. I rode an 85 when I was a kid, and then I went straight to 250F, and that's all that I've ridden for the last 10 years. And so jumped on the 2-stroke. Honestly, was never a fan of them when I did ride them, and took the deal with Beta and took that step to try to decided to figure it out, and struggled for the first 4 or 5 months. Honestly, like, it's for everybody that races, I'm sure they can relate. It's a big difference going from a 2-stroke to a 4 or vice versa, and I struggled a lot on it. Had a lot of doubts and all that, but just kept plugging away, and eventually it just kind of clicked, and it was like one day, I was still struggling, and then the next day I love this bike, and it's working great for me, and that's when I started having some success, probably around the midway point, of the GNCCs. I wouldn't say the year, because years still, we're barely halfway through, but
yeah.
But yeah, it was great for that to kind of click, and now I'm really enjoying that bike. And I've told all my friends I really didn't expect to be the first 2-stroke winner. As I was just talking about, I didn't ride them and I didn't care for them. So to be able to hop on one and make some history like that, it's a really awesome experience, and I thankful and happy for that opportunity. And as far as the team goes, I think they were really happy about it. The whole team came down from Ohio to the last round, and they helped me with the bike and everything or on Sunday at the last round. It was I really couldn't have done it without them. It rained all day long, and it was disgusting. I had had to clean, seats just so I could not slide off the back between every test and all that kind of stuff. So they were really happy. They had some championship T-shirts made up, and number plates and jerseys, and that really, I really appreciated that they put in that much effort to show that they they were happy that we got that done. So it was.
No, that's sick, and obviously you seem to be adapting to the bike pretty well the way it's been looking here lately. But I wanted to talk to you about that because Andy and Aston, the beta mechanics, and I was over there talking with them, and like you said, they brought the beta rig down and they had everything going. It definitely took a team effort with the conditions going on, but they told me that they had the shirts and everything, but they're like, "Don't tell Evan. He don't know yet." Was that a superstition thing that was talked about beforehand?
No, honestly, I didn't know anything about it until I came through the finish on the last test, and they were all wearing the T-shirts and had the number plate and swapped it out right there on the finish, and that was definitely a surprise to me. I didn't know anything about it.
Dang, yeah, the way that he said it, I didn't know if it was like one of those things where you're like, don't want to get them made, so you jinx it, or what?
No, I definitely it hadn't really crossed my mind. Like I said, I was just there to win a race and win a championship and do what I needed to do and get it done, and was trying not to have my mind elsewhere.
That's sick. And so I wanted to talk to you about the race weekend as a whole. So I saw you, I guess it had to have been Saturday. You actually went out and walked the track. I know you usually bike it several times, but I saw you walking it on Saturday to start things off. What was the preparation like this weekend? Do you walk the track every weekend, or I guess did you come into this weekend with the championship on the line? Like, did you kind of change what you were doing, or was it just the normal prep and like a normal race weekend?
Yeah, no, it was exactly the same. Preparation I've done all year. I always like to walk the enduro test at least once, and then I'll get done with it and go pedal it a couple more times. But I really just feel like I remember the track a lot better, and I notice things walking that I wouldn't really notice on the bicycle. You just kind of get a better feel for where roots and rocks and stuff, trash in the trail that could mess you up is. It kind of forces me to take longer to look at everything so that I remember it better. So yeah, it was same old. I think I walked the enduro and then pedaled it 2 or 3 more times, and then pedaled the cross I think 2 or 3 times as well. So it's pretty normal weekend. And actually, it was a shame walking and pedaling on Saturday. The dirt was choice. Like, it was the most perfect conditions you could ever hope for. I was so excited.
That changed pretty quick.
Yeah, as soon as I got back to the van on Saturday night after getting done, skies opened up and they didn't stop until after we were done racing.
Man, so we knew there was a possibility of rain, but then Sunday morning, it rained a little bit overnight, and then Sunday morning, it was just kind of overcast, and it wasn't really raining, and it was overcast, and I looked at the weather app, and it said that it was supposed to be overcast all day, that it wasn't going to rain, and I went out and took some pictures of the track and posted it on Full Gas's social media and was like, look how perfect the track is. It's going to be a good day. Hit post, went back to my car. All of a sudden the sky let out and it rained the rest of the day. So felt kind of bad about that. But from your standpoint, dealing with those conditions, like you said, track looked just about perfect on Saturday. And then Sunday when it starts raining, does that, as soon as it starts, in your mind, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that just something to not even think about? What was your reaction?
I mean, it's never a bummer to me when it starts raining. Anybody on the team will tell you that. We'll show up to a race and it starts raining, and I get a smile from ear to ear because I love riding in the mud. It's that one was a bit extreme. It was quite on the wet side, but I really didn't mind it. I I like riding mud, and it presented some challenges with racing 10 tests. You got to get on and off that super muddy bike a whole bunch of times rather than just getting on and knocking out 3 hours and then hopping off. That's something different. But it was fun. I looked forward to it. I had a blast, and I was able to keep goggles on all day, which was a really, really good thing to me. I don't like to ride without goggles, especially sprinting stuff. But when it starts raining, it's definitely not something that bums me out.
Yeah, and I kind of figured that might be the case, and I feel like in a situation like that, two-stroke kind of lends in your favor a little bit more in those situations. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Surprisingly, with that bike, I had a lot of, I guess, prejudices about it going into it, expecting it to be good here and bad there and, stuff like that. But honestly, that I haven't ridden that bike in any conditions that I really did not think it worked well in. It kind of works the best to me in the extremes and like super muddy or super dry, hard packed, silty stuff. So the thing's a weapon no matter what.
See, people are sleeping on the betas until you ride them and feel them. Like, you just kind of think about beta, and I don't know. I feel like people, like you said, kind of have preconceived thoughts about it, but they're awesome bikes.
Yeah, no, that two-stroke motor is definitely unbeatable. It's the 250 is sick. I'm hoping to get my hands on a 300 here soon and be able to test that. I think that'll even be, a step better. I think it would have been amazing in the mud.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what they sent me, was a 300. So that's what I've been riding on. I know we ride at a little bit different speeds, a little bit different scenarios, you know what I mean? But they're sick, man. The more I ride it, the more I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a super comfortable bike. I noticed that from the first time I rode it. I just hopped on it and was pretty comfortable right off the rip. I don't know if you've experienced the same.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I don't like the other Euro bikes. To me, they just never felt good to me. Like, I've always ridden Japanese bikes, and I just never been comfortable when I tried any of the other bikes. But I jumped on the beta, and it almost feels like a Japanese bike in some instances. I don't know. I adapted to it pretty quick. Like, I never got any of that weird, awkward feeling. I didn't even really twist any clickers or do anything. I just started riding it and kind of let it all progress naturally. But yeah, I've been pumped on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny. I've never actually I've never had a Japanese bike, so I don't know really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know anything about how they feel aside from the 5 minutes I've spent on one here or there, and that's not really enough to get a good feel for it.
No, but so going into this weekend, it really, like, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's probably one of the best battles that I've ever got to watch at Full Gas, especially being able to announce them and call them out throughout the day, because you guys kept going back and forth every single test. You won every woods test, and then Ben won every cross test up until the last one, which we'll get to that in a second. But what was that like? Because it basically came down. It became pretty apparent early on that the winner was going to be who could win on their best side by more.
Yeah, I mean, one word sums it up: is stressful. Because I've been winning all the races that I have over the last few rounds by doing exactly what you said. Winning by more in the woods than he was in the cross, and we came through at the end of the first enduro test. I think I only beat him by 5 seconds, and that stressed me out because I've been able to put a lot more on him than that in the last few rounds. So I thought I was in trouble after that for sure. And I guess it was just kind of damage control on the cross test because he's fast. So I just did everything I could not to hit the ground.
Dude, so it is very rare that in any of the pro classes that someone gets passed physically, like with the margins, you're taking off 15 seconds apart. I think the cross test won't happen, and then the woods won't happen afterwards. But what I'm getting at is Ben physically caught and passed you in a cross test, and you physically caught and passed Ben in an enduro test, and those are both 15-second gaps. So what were those moments like when, one, you catch and pass him, and then two, when he catches and passes you? Like, what goes through your mind in those situations? Because full gas, it's not like you're out there banging bars very often.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. Like we were saying, I've raced a lot of years of full gas, and I don't think I've ever done that, or had been doing any passing more than once in a day. Usually somebody falls or has a bike problem, and that's like a one-off deal. It doesn't happen a whole lot. So for it to happen twice in one day, it was definitely cool. And he got me, he passed me in that first cross test, and he caught me so fast. Like, we were probably a quarter of the way in, and he's already on me. And he got around me, and it was actually, I took it as a good opportunity, because I was like, all right, now I get to see what he's doing. And if I can figure out how he's fast, I can replicate that and hopefully be faster in the rest of the tests. And it was something, I guess he passed me, and I started seeing how he was riding, and I was able to adjust what I was doing and keep up with him. And then I was able to pass him back and led for a little bit. And then I think he got around me a second time out on the moto track, like 3/4 of the way through, and beat me for the test. But we actually went back and forth a couple of times. We were going down straightaways side by side. We're looking over at each other, and I think we're both, about to break our throttle cables, trying to out drag each other going down the straights. It was super cool. And then in the woods test, I caught him. He, I guess he made a mistake and got stuck for a second on a rooted hill, and I was able to get up it without any problems. And I at first was, content just following him. I knew I made up 15 seconds, and then I started thinking about it. It's like, man, 15 seconds might not be enough with the way the cross test is going, so I need to figure out a way to get around him. And it was cool. Not all full gases are ribbon super wide for passing. A lot of them are usually one line, and or at least one fast line. But this one had a couple of options, and I was able to get up beside him, and we drag raced through the trees. And there was a moment that, in my mind, either he was going to lift and I was going to, pass him, or we were going to crash. And luckily, I either beat him there or he let off, because I made the pass and then put the hammer down and tried to build that time gap.
Dang. That's got to be intense, especially battling with the championship on the line, the overall on the line, all the money on the line, and then you guys are drag racing through some trees next to each other.
Yeah, man, it's a thrill. I live for that kind of thing. It was definitely one of the coolest days of racing that I've had, without a doubt.
Yeah, and so I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up or didn't talk about it and get your thoughts on it. Going into test 5, Ben took over the overall lead, so he was going to be the first one out to the track, and he took off before you had gotten there, and so then it ended up resulting in a 10-second penalty for you. That was exactly at the halfway point throughout the day. So, unfortunately, situations like that do come up where the penalties have to be enforced, just because of the full gas rules and all that. What was going through your mind at that point? Like, did that add any stress to you, or did that kind of give you some motivation?
Yeah, I mean, I was stressed out for sure. I knew what I had done when I was rolling up to the start and saw one of the Pro 2 guys taking off. And so I rode that test like a man possessed and tried to get all that time that I could. And I actually had a really fast time through there. But came through, made it back to the truck, and, threw the bike on the stand, that was the first thing I said to the team. I was like, yeah, guys, we're about to get penalized for that. Like, hopefully it's not much, but I knew exactly what was going to happen. And they came down and let me know the situation. And then it was 10 seconds. And, it wasn't the worst case scenario. It could have been a lot worse. But, I kind of thought that was the nail in the coffin for me for a minute. And, you have a little bit of time to sit and think between tests. So I pondered on it for a minute and then, decided that wasn't going to be the reason that I lost this thing. And honestly, it was probably the best thing for me because it lit a fire under me, and I was more determined than ever to overcome that setback. And it was I rode a lot faster the rest of the day, so I believe it was a blessing in disguise anyway.
Damn. So it's interesting that you said that, and that's why, like, when I was setting up the question, I kind of used the word motivation because when you lined up for the next cross test and I kind of spoke with you a little bit about it, I could see it in your face and I could see it like in your eyes that basically what you were saying, like you were using that, and then the rest of the day you just kind of slowly ticked off more and more times. So that's why a lot of people don't see a penalty as motivation, but it seemed like the way that you handled it and the way you handled it afterwards that might have been the case. So that's what I was wondering. But one of the big things, and I'll let you go after this question. Like I said, I appreciate you joining us and chatting with us, but one of the big things about Full Gas is that big championship money, which I know the title and everything is cool and all that stuff that goes on with it, but $7,000 is also a pretty cool thing coming out of it as well. So how stoked were you to get that? Because, I mean, that's got to be biggest payday that you've had riding a dirt bike, I would imagine, in a single day. Because not only that, but then $1,200 to win the race as well. So how stoked were you on that? And have you spent any of the money or have plans for that money?
It was awesome. I was thinking back over it, and that's definitely the most money I've won in an hour and 16 minutes worth of riding. So that was really cool. On one hand, I'm not racing for the money. If I was here to get rich, I'd be a fool. I'd be in the wrong sport. But it was awesome to win that much. I can't thank the Full Gas team and Josh enough for putting up that purse. That's a huge commitment for them to come out their first year and give back to the racers like that. That's not something that we see in any other series probably ever. So that was super cool. But all that being said, very happy to make it. It's great to have money. I haven't spent any of it yet, but honestly, I'm probably going to be the responsible guy and just put that down and probably pay off my truck and not go out to the strip clubs or anything like that and blow it like younger me might have considered.
Oh man, you gotta at least go indulge one thing, buy one thing that you normally wouldn't spend your money on, use it for that.
That's funny. I indulged. I'm pretty cheap when it comes to about everything, but I took the team and everybody out for dinner afterward, and there was this Mexican restaurant in town that had the most extensive drink menu I've ever seen in my life, and I had to get a margarita, and it was fantastic. I guess I couldn't talk the team into partaking in the $200 alcohol tower that they had, but I guess as far as indulging goes, that $15 margarita was about my cap.
Dang, Strang would be happy with you. That was one of the things that he talked about is winning races and winning championships and enjoying the moment and treating the team and stuff. So that's cool. I know I said last question. One more thing that I forgot about that we kind of spoke about. The Full Gas Trophy, the Full Gas Cup. It was a big cup. It was a standalone cup that went from champion to champion to champion. Well, there wasn't a 2021, but the last overall champion was Caleb Russell. He still got that cup, man. You going to go knock down the door, get your trophy, we gotta get a hold of him. We gotta get this thing to you.
Yeah, man. Somebody tag him. Somebody give him a call. Get that thing in the mail.
Caleb, we're coming after the trophy. Evan earned it. Give it up.
Yep. Maybe I'll just send Tina over there to get it for me. She's a lot more intimidating than I could ever be.
Absolutely. I would want her representing me in most matters in life.
I 100% agree. She was a huge help at the race as well. She came out and, like we said, it was pouring down rain. She had a poncho out there. She's out furthest point in the woods you can get, looking for lines and, helping me out. Yeah, man. For anybody and everybody who's raced GNCCs over the last 15 years, 20 years, they know exactly what we're talking about when we talk about Tina. When you're mid GNCC and there's a deep mud hole, you just look for her and aim for her.
Yep. That is a good rule of thumb to go by. But cool, man. That sounds awesome. I'm stoked for you. Like it kind of, you and Ben have both became good friends of mine. So going into the day, it was like, well, I'm not rooting for either one. Just stoked to see a good day of racing. It ended up being an awesome day of racing. But just as we kind of talked about at the beginning, to see you there ever since I've been there and kind of work through the ranks, win that Pro 2 title, and then come out and win that overall title. I'm stoked for you. So I just want to say congratulations once again, and thank you for taking the time out and coming to chat with us again on OTP.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. If you got a second, one last thing I thought of. I'll throw out a little bit of trash talk for Ben. Anybody that knows him knows he's a big mind game guy. He always tries to mess with people and get in their heads. And so I've learned to recognize that when he was doing it in the past, and I kind of enjoy trying to play it back. So the 2 weeks coming into the race, I noticed on Snapchat he's posting a picture every single day that he's riding. He's posting Instagram videos about grass track practicing, and I know Ben. I know he doesn't ride 6 times a week, but he was. So I could tell he was all worked up about it. Even if he wasn't riding every day, he's trying to screw with me. So I went the other way with him. I was like, man, I'm gonna go to the beach this week, drink some beer. I might not even touch my bike before the race. And I don't know if that messed with him at all. You have to ask him about that, but I did my best to get in his head.
Oh, whether he admits it or not, I think you probably for sure did.
Well, that's the kind of stuff we live for, man.
Well, there we go. Well, hey, man, thanks again. Congratulations again. And I guess we'll see you in a couple weeks here at National Enduro.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks again for having me on, and we'll see you at PA in a week and a half.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you later on. Thanks, Evan.
Yep, no worries. Have a great day.